Apple shares, they're on the move here this morning after its annual September product launch event. The tech giant debuted its iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Pro, bringing major changes to Apple's most important devices. As you can see, the stock typically sees some gloomy days after unveiling a new lineup of iPhones. Shares of Apple have fallen more than 7% in the last week, though, after reports of China's increasing iPhone restrictions and a brewing trade war between China and the U.S. Let's bring in Martin Yang, who is the Oppenheimer Senior Analyst of Emerging Tech and Services. All right. Enter the chat here with us. Your take largely off of the Apple unveil of everything from, of course, that crown jewel in the iPhone all the way into some of the new services and features to an Apple Watch, which I guess I also need an update on too now, Martin.
Sure. I would like to highlight two things. Aside from, widely expected feature changes on Pro and Pro Max, I think the most surprising announcement from yesterday's event is now iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max and now support native high-end PC and console games to run on the devices. And that has never been achieved before on a high-end smartphone. And the secondly is the watch gestures. I think that's a combination of Apple's very deep expertise on sensor fusion and sensor designs by themselves, and also a very novel feature for the watch, but consistent with the input language for Vision Pro. Definitely, setting the precursor for much consistent human interface designs across all Apple devices once gesture control becomes more viable.
Martin, I want to dig into the gaming aspect a little bit more because you're one of the few folks that I've seen really emphasize that aspect and that ability for it. How much of a difference does that make for someone who is gaming on the phone, and how much is that going to drive demand?
Sure. So, smartphone or mobile gaming in general has been perceived as a very isolated market relative to PC and console gaming because smartphones were not powerful enough to deliver that graphic fidelity and really, really complex gameplay. And this is very new, and I would call that a paradigm shift. And now that iPhone can run the games that typically appeal to really serious hardcore games. And if iPhone can run those games natively, then there will be a very large audience that are willing to, sometimes purchase the game twice, once on PC and console, and another times on Apple, and also bring about very substantial changes in how video games are going to distribute it across mobile and PC and console channels.
How would you kind of scale or even grade Apple's announcements yesterday in terms of an ecosystem strengthening event?
I would say a moderate strengthening of its ecosystem. When you think about the most obvious changes is the bigger cameras are cameras with larger pixel count for 15 and 15 plus, and support for spatial video on Pro and Pro Max. And usually camera upgrades come with much higher fidelity photos and videos that consume a lot more storage spaces. And that's where Apple will complement the hardware upgrade with more storage tiers for the iCloud Plus offerings. And so in that sense, they are strengthening the ecosystem. And at the same time, we haven't seen novel materials such like titanium alloy being used in other smartphones. And that's also a very good defense against potential competition.